Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live chat. Hope you all are doing well. Spring is here in Tennessee. We've had some wonderful days for pollen foraging for our bees, and this is one of those years where I really feel like if we didn't feed pollen patties, we probably could get away with it. Watch me say that, and then in a couple days, we'll get some really bad weather or something like that. But it's just been really wonderful for the bees, and we have a lot to talk about tonight. Of course, give me your questions, and we will do our best to hash those out. A lot of exciting things going on. I've got a couple tanks on the way I'm really excited about from Wisconsin. Hey, Brian. Hey, GRS Trans. Mark, Dominican Beekeeper. Hey, down there in the Caribbean. And Triton WR, good to see you as well. Hope you guys are doing good. Have a good bee season on the way for you. So, of course, we'll be taking a lot of questions. One of the exciting things I have to announce tonight is that tomorrow morning we will be releasing access to some of the conference videos, as far as there will be some for purchase, and then one of them is actually going to be available on YouTube. It's just a kind of a little compilation, and also the entire bluegrass show. So that will be on YouTube, available for everybody. And the lectures will also be available. So more information on that very soon to come. All right, a lot of people filing on in. First time I've ever caught a live chat. Well, welcome aboard. Yeah, I'm really bad about announcing them early on, and I apologize. Brian Reese, wow, Steve, guys, thank you very much for supporting what we do. You guys make this possible, and thank you guys so much. And I hope that you guys know how much we appreciate the both of you. And so I wanted to say real quick, as far as the recent video on the mess I made in Laurel's stove, that was something that it is because of the inversion process of that apple cider vinegar and the citric acid in there and all that kind of stuff. And actually, when it was all said and done, we got it soaking, and then something came up, and I got on a busy phone call, and Laurel ended up kind of cleaning most of it out anyways. I did do a little tiny bit of it. So, yeah, I think I owe Laurel a dinner or something like that. She really is too good for me. Oski Powers, hi, Kamon and Laurel. Is it too early to do splits? I'm in Eastern Tennessee, and some of my hives have capped drone brood and drones. It's not too early, but it's pushing it. This time of the year, we're still a little bit in limbo. You can do it, especially if you have a mated queen. But if you're wanting to do something like walk-away splits or something like that, you might could do it. A lot depends on the year. I think we're a little bit behind myself. I think we're a week or so behind where we normally are this time of the year. But that's okay. It's not the weather's bad. It's just the bloom seems to be delayed a little bit, and bee development goes right along with that typically. But as far as splits go, if I had a queen, I could have made a split a week or so ago without any issues. But a lot depends on if you have mated queens or not. So if you have a strong hive or strong hives, you want to take little bits and you have some mated queens, that'd be great. If you dropped in a queen cell, that'd probably be pretty good too. So yeah, you can make splits this time of the year, but you're just going to have to make them maybe a little bit heavier, or have them in a nice insulated box to kind of help them out if we get that really late cold snap like we'll get from time to time. All right, so we got Bee Lord from Poland. We got a fellow from Yemen. All right. And I heard a story. I don't know if it's true. It's hard to know what is true and what's not with the way media is. But I did hear supposedly that a Ukrainian beekeeper was killed in the fighting while working as hives. Now, I don't know if that's 100% true or not. But regardless, a lot of prayers to the civilian population there in Ukraine right now. Hello from Ohio. All right, North Carolina, all over the place. Laurel, save an old toothbrush for next time. That's right. Watching it snow here in northern Michigan. Woo, keep it up there, please. East Tennessee, good deal. Yeah, 40 to 50 during night can be risky for chill brood. And you know what I'll say in regards to that? It can be, but it also could not be. I've raised queens in that temperature. It's all about bee density. If there's enough bees, bees can raise queens in if it drops down a little below freezing, they can raise queens. It's not ideal, but I've done it before. We've also made splits. I got 5 Hawaiian queens. I've said this before, so I'll keep it brief. 5 Hawaiian queens that I got the last day of February, and on the first day of March, I installed them. The high was 39 that day, and the low was in the upper 20s. And all of those queens were just fine. But we had to shake in extra bees, and we also we're putting division boards into the hives. They're basically like a follower board that goes in. If you got 10 frame box and you make a 3 frame split, that follower board goes all the way down to the bottom board and up against the walls and basically cuts it off like it's a little nuke, which helps them keep the heat in. So there are things that you can do to make cold weather operations more effective and safer for your bees, but it is more tedious. And definitely they keep food contact on bees. But having a frame of food next to the cluster or in the middle of the cluster is really important on those splits. They got to have food contact. Making a little bit of a sugar brick, or heck, you can do a lot of different things to feed them. Just make sure the bees can definitely starve in this time of the year. I've seen it happen. All right, Gus, good to hear from you in West Tennessee that you're a little behind, because I really respect your opinion on that, and helps me know that I'm not real crazy. But it does seem like we're a little bit behind. But, last year I felt like we were a little bit behind as well from some previous years where we had some really warm winters. It's just, so what is normal? Who knows? I'm not sure there is such a thing, honestly. But last year we had a great honey flow, so maybe we'll have it again. I won't hear me complaining at all. Dominican beekeeper, how did you get the kids so calm around bees? I'm thinking of doing some intro classes with kids, but they are afraid of bees. Has he been stung? Jimmy was stung actually the first time when he was 1 year old. I'm not even sure he was a full year old. A bee, we were working bees. And we had him off a ways on a big old blanket, and a bee didn't come and sting him, but one just fell from. It got tired flying around and landed on the blanket. And Jimmy has always been good at one or two things. Primarily eating and saying words. He's quite a talker. He gets it naturally. But this is hilarious. This is one of the funniest things ever. Jimmy's first word was eat. It wasn't dada. It wasn't mama. It was eat. That boy was eating solid food by the time he was 6 or 7 months old. And I'm not talking like a little bit of mushed up carrots. He was wanting like chicken, and he would say eat if you didn't give it to him. Really remarkable. It's just interesting how every kid's a little bit different on how they develop and how important food is. This guy will eat anything. But as far as how he got used to being around the bees, he's just always been around them. It's kind of like if you grow up around the water, you learn. You don't even hardly. My dad had me around the water when I was a kid. I don't even remember learning how to swim. I just was always around it. And so I think it's that way with the bees as well. Also, having gentle bees help. My son was running around a couple of the hives early today, and I was like, son, stay a little bit away from the bees. Of course, they didn't bother him at all, but we do have really gentle bees. They will sting you, but overall, they're very calm compared to some bees. And so that helps a lot. And your confidence helps a lot, but ultimately just experience is the best teacher. And Jimmy has a lot of experience around bees. I mean, it literally is what we talk about all the time around here. And the poor guy probably like a little break from the bees. Oh, I didn't finish the story. That's right. It fell on the blanket. Thank you. And did you share this with everybody? Okay, thank you. So the bee fell on the blanket and he picked it up to eat it. That's what I was supposed to be getting back around to. Yes, Jimmy likes to eat everything. And back in those days, he would pick up anything he could get his hands on. And I do mean anything. And the first thing to do was stick it in his mouth. But that would be my best suggestion, is just to get pictures out there and to show them positive things about it. Maybe if you have a little bit of honey, some Caribbean honey, sounds amazing. And you can let the kids try it a little bit and see that there's some positive things. And I think it's important for all kids. It doesn't have to be beekeeping. It could literally be gardening, raising chickens. It's so valuable to learn these lessons of sometimes to get something great, you have to work hard for it, or you have to go through some adversity, which may be the bee stings. With gardening or chickens, or with bees, sometimes you lose them. And I think that's an important lesson to learn as a young person as well. I think that's underrated. Young kids need to respect life and understand the value of taking care of something else and being responsible. I think it's part of the reason we have so many youth that are really not happy, because they just are out of touch. Best way to introduce virgin queens. All right, so that's a tricky one. Give me 1 second. All right, so I am not an expert when it comes to introducing virgin queens. Like all introductions, all manipulations, doing it during a flow or in the spring when there's pollens and honey always makes it easier. So what works easily in spring could be a disaster during a robbing time of the year when there's more guard bees and they're very aggressive. How I introduce queens, virgin queens, is a lot of times by dipping them in a little bit of honey. And I'll just have a jar of honey, and I'll just take a virgin queen, drop her in, pick her up with my finger, and I'll run her in the entrance. You can also spritz them with sugar water, which I've done a lot. It's actually a little bit easier to do that instead. Either way, it will work. Some people just run them right in the entrance. You want to do this on a smaller colony, preferably. Smaller colonies typically have less resistance towards accepting a virgin queen like that. And also, you don't want to have an old colony. You don't want to have a bunch of old bees in there. You want nurse bees. So if you're doing this to a split that you've made, and you've let all the forager bees fly back, and you're giving them a little bit of feed, and you get her a little soaked with some sugar syrup or something like that, that'll work really good. Usually when I introduce virgins, it's that way. I wouldn't call myself an expert, and there's other methods. Richard Noel, who has a YouTube channel, has some good information on virgin queens. This is something I want to try this year. And my buddy Gus showed them to me a year or two ago. And I've just now got around to getting some. Had David Peck bring them to me with the Better Bee display. And you are supposed to dip these, I believe, with just a thin layer of beeswax on the end. And so it becomes like a queen cell. And then this top pops up, and you drop the virgin queen down in there. And as soon as you put her down in there, you shut this, and she has a little wax cap to chew through. Now, you would definitely not want to dip the queen in sugar syrup or honey with this method, because it could take them a little while to get out. You don't want them to be all sticky, and that could cause some issues for that long. But when you introduce them into the hive, they'll clean her off right away as she enters the colony. It's no big deal. But supposedly, as they chew through the wax, it's just like a virgin queen emerging out of the cell, and the introduction is better. I've never tried this method, so that's really all I know about virgin queens. I try to avoid it. Really try just to do queen cells. I think it's the best way to do it. Candle the cells and know if it's a good one, and stick it in there, and it's so much less work and less stress. All right, Quebec. All right, Australia. Thanks for coming on, Jeffrey. I think that's how maybe down there you pronounce it different than Jeffrey, but I apologize. Glad that you're here all the same. All right, upstate New York, got them all over the place. Lost my hive, fed them sugar, but no honey in the hive, and some of the bees were dead with their heads in the comb cells with their butts sticking out. Is that a starvation issue? That's typically a starvation issue when you have bees down into the cells with their butts sticking out. That they also like to get in there to warm up the cluster too. So when they're like, let's say it's a 4-frame cluster that's covering 4 frames, it could be like that big, and it'll be over the top of that 4 frame and below it. But there will be bees that literally stick their heads down into the empty cells, and so they can cluster as tight as they can, and they'll just warm that whole space up. But of course, as they begin to starve, they're looking for every little bit they can get, and that is typically a telltale sign of starvation. Let's get to some more questions. Yeah, crazy. Well, see, crazy, what they say is you got like two spheres here. You have crazy people in this sphere and farmers in this sphere, and right where they meet together, that's where beekeepers are. So it's not too far from the truth. I know a couple beekeepers that made it all the way into crazy town, though. A break from bees, impossible, inconceivable. Exactly. All right, Walker Bee Ranch. It's always nice to have some good extraction equipment, some upgrades. Honey extraction is a lot of work, and at the busiest time of the year. Steve Moody, good to hear that your son and daughter are very excited to learn in the bee yard this year. It's awesome. I hope they enjoy it as much as I think they will. Central Missouri, your bees have chomped up most of their pollen patties or bringing their own in. Is the pollen coming in sufficient, or do I need to keep patties on them? That's really up to you to decide. And this year seems, so far in my area, a very good pollen year. We've been getting a lot of sunny days. The last two rains have only come late in the day, and it's been gone by nightfall. And we've had a lot of good 50, 60-degree days. Bees have been flying. We haven't got, like some years where we'll get 4, 5, 6 days of straight rain in March. So that is really good as far as getting plenty of days to get those pollens. But I still go ahead and feed a little bit every now and then. Doesn't mean you have to feed it every week or as soon as they run out, but I go ahead and feed it anyways. I feel like it gives the colonies a little bit of a boost, and it really just depends on your location. And look into the hives and see what's going on. Do they have stores of bee bread in there? And also keep in mind, even if you see a frame of it, it's going to take about a frame to raise a frame of bees. So if you look at the weather forecast and you're like, wow, we got next 7 days, just fantastic flying weather, or most of that, probably don't need to feed it. But if you're seeing the opposite, really cold days, really rainy days, that pollen patty can really help keep that colony just full steam ahead. If your goal is to get big, beefy colonies. And some people are like, well, this colony's huge. Why do I need to keep it strong? Well, you can pull frames of brood from that one and give it to another colony. Or if you're wanting to make a split or raise queens, can you have too many bees? Maybe. Jury's still out. Cold snap has got you worried, Cobra Strike. It's supposed to drop in the high 20s. How worried should I be about the bees? I just rotated a few boxes the other day. Well, what you can do if you are concerned is, if they haven't occupied that box, you could swipe it and then give it back once it warms back up, or you could literally go in there and keep the box on. But I have heard of beekeepers doing this instead. And let's say you've rotated them and there's no brood in that top box, and they're all still down in that bottom one where you rotated it. You could go in there and take a sheet of newspaper. Oh, and that'll keep that heat down for a couple days. And they'll chew through it and work their way up to the top box whenever they're ready. They'll chew through it in a couple days. So that's something you could do to kind of help that heat in. That's one of the reasons why I kind of like those Reflectix things that Ian uses, that foamies, as he likes to call them. Sometimes they're a little bit of a pain during honey extraction and during the busy part of the season. But at the same time, they do a good job in the winter months and the cool times of the year. And even in summer, when it's one more thing to fool with, but it does seal the lid really good and help keep some of the heat from radiating down into the colony. So if you had something like that, that would also help insulate keep the heat in the colony. Good evening. Have you tried AP23 to make pollen patties? You know, I have used it as far as purchase the patty itself. I've never used it to make any of the pollen patty recipes. So as far as mixing it like the Michael Palmer recipe or anything like that, the ratios might be a little bit different, but I don't have any experience mixing it. But just actually using the product, AP23, in my opinion, is fairly comparable to the Ultra Bee patties and maybe better now. I don't know. Let's see. I think, okay, that was not addressed to me. Sometimes it's hard. I start reading before I actually see what's going on, and some of them are addressed to other beekeepers in the chat, which is great. It's really fascinating and fun to see a lot of people that know each other talking on the sidebar. So let's get to one or two things I'd like to address really quick, and then I'll take some more questions. So a friend of mine is helping me work on oxalic acid extended release and getting that approved. So legally we can do that for the test yard this year. I'm really excited about that. We did get some good news. When I talked to Randy Oliver, he was able to send me some information on how he works that all out and gave us more insight on how to go through that process. And there were some other exciting things about Randy Oliver as well, but it's all tentative, so I won't say anything at this point, but it is all pretty exciting. I'm hoping to be able to use the oxalic acid extended Swedish sponges in the test jar this year, do a side-by-side of those with Apivar, and then do thymol in 3 doses and see how well that works. I have a feeling it'll work better than the 2 doses like they recommend, but we'll see. Maybe it's just my opinion on it, and it very well could be. That's the way I typically use it, those Hopguard 30 grams 3 times once a week apart for a 3-week period for sure. Now, as far as, since Gus is on here, and some of you have started following Gus Mitchell's channel, a little backstory, Gus and I have known each other for 13 years, something like that, and he helped me load up my Kamon system, helped me find my Silver Queen uncapper, and we've done all kinds of different things over the years to help one another out, and that's really what it's all about. And then on top of that, he is the one that said, Kamon, you need to use excluders. And I said, I don't see any reason to do that. I was one of those not use excluder guys, which is fine. You don't have to. But I thought it actually has been a wonderful thing for me. So one of the things I wanted to show you in relation to Gus is when he just got an order, and he's going to have some videos on this. I may do a video. I might not get around to it. But as you can see, there's something different about these frames. First of all, they're shallows. I've been framed. Oh, that was terrible. So I'm just waiting for the time delay and hear Laurel giggle in there, or come in here and just shake her head. She does that from time to time. You guys don't know. She'll open up that door and just roll her eyes or something like that. Peanut gallery. So the difference is this has a very thin top bar, and that really gives you a little bit more room to produce comb honey in here. And so what I'm going to try to do, for the first time ever, almost 20 years of beekeeping, and produce my first comb honey. I don't know why it's taken this long. I've wanted to do it for years, but I've tried to keep it simple, and I think that's really good starting out early. But then again, maybe I should have focused on comb honey early on and kept it even more simple. I wouldn't have had to purchase an extractor so early and all the other equipment. And comb honey can sell. It just takes a little bit of, it takes some different management to produce good comb honey. So I'm hoping Gus will get around to doing some videos on that so I can learn a thing or two. Or I can just call him on the phone. But that's good. Since it's thinner than most of your top bars, you can get more comb honey. And then that cutter, like Pierce's comb cutter that I did the video on, and Gus did too, you can go through there and cut those out. And so I want to try to have some of those for gifts and maybe even sell a couple at our local stores. It'll be fun. And I think it'll, for one, it's just a part of beekeeping that I've always wanted to do. And now's as good a time as any. Looking forward to that. Okay, I've missed some questions. All right, Don, good to see you. So the video that I'll be releasing soon, that's the bluegrass show. It's the entire bluegrass show. It actually turned out really good. And that's one thing I'm really excited about with the whole conference videos, is that the audio turned out crystal clear, and the visual was really, really good too. So I was really pleased with them. DP videos did a really good job. And it took us a lot longer to get it ready, but we had a lot of firsts as far as learning how to do things and which platforms and what format. And it was just a real big pain in the butt. I'm not really geared towards this technology stuff, but it's just the age that we live in. And it is nice once you get it to work. And it is looking pretty awesome. But that bluegrass series, Don, I thought of you because towards the end, I didn't realize it. right as we were playing Rocky Top, I said Roll Tide Baby right before we played Rocky Top, which for those of you who don't know, Tennessee football plays Alabama. And whenever they score a touchdown, they play Rocky Top, Tennessee. And they play it all the time. Yeah, LaGrange bees. Paul Kelly does use 18-ounce canvas as inner covers. And I actually have some. I have not had a chance to try them out yet, but I'm sure if it works for Paul, I'm sure it works just fine. Ooh, a little dry today. My kids and I had a good day. We threw a bunch of firewood out for next year's winter weather. And both of the kids, I was teaching them how to throw logs properly. And both of them did a really good job. It's a little bit tricky when your son's 6 years old and he really likes Captain America and Hulk and Superman and all that stuff. And so he wants to go all out with his log throws, which is, it's a good thing I'm a good catch or a good dodge, because there was a couple of those logs. They were ill aimed. Let's just put it that way. But overall, he got it. And both him and Kathleen are pretty good at helping their daddy throw wood out of the back of the truck onto the stack of firewood. So that was a lot of fun today. But ooh, it was a good bit of wood. We have 2 to 3 days in the 30s and in the teens next week. Snow forecast for tomorrow. I put pollen patties on my colonies now. Think this is too early. John, do you have any pollen coming in up there in Vermont? I usually time my pollen patties around the time my bees get their first pollens. However, we rarely get into the teens down here. I think we might have had one day this year that got down into the teens. So very different winter. If I see your next comment, though, let me know if you have natural pollen coming in yet. Jennifer says, I pulled a frame with a queen cell on it and put it in a mating nuke with a frame of food. Check today and she's out. Doesn't look like she's mated yet, but this is great. She came from my best hive. Well, good luck with that, Jennifer, and I hope she gets mated properly and comes back and does just like her mother is doing in the other hive. But it is that time of the year. You're down in Mississippi, so it's totally swarm season, and it is swarm season down in Alabama. And we're starting to see the beginnings of some hives that look like they can get into swarm condition here. Our biggest hives are looking like, without a little bit of a pullback or something, frame manipulation, we're going to be seeing swarm cells here in the next week. So I think in a normal year, we'd see it a week or two earlier, but it's a little bit behind again. Hey, Laurel. Might take a second. Where's that jar of squeeze bottle honey? What are you laughing at? Oh, yeah. Chop, chop. This may be the last broadcast. I need one of those jars of honey that's a squeeze bottle, please, if you would. There should be someone around here somewhere. We've got honey everywhere. All right, I'll just use this then. No, I will not. That would be a mess. If you have an aggressive queenless hive that is having a hard time being requeened, do you think they would kill a queen if you did a paper combine with the queen right colony? If they're bigger than the queen right colony you combine them to, then it is possible. It definitely needs to be a paper combine. If possible, give them a little bit of feed so they're preoccupied on the feed, and that would help a lot. One thing that I've done in the past is, let's say if you have 5 colonies in a row, pretty close proximity, I just shake the bees out and just let them all drift into the others. As long as there's no diseases or anything like that, then I just shake them all out right there. And any that cluster onto the hive, you take the hive away, but anything that cluster like where the hive was, then you can maybe gather them and chuck them into a hive on some newspaper or something like that. But if they're all flying age, just let them sort themselves out. Honestly, they won't be much good to the colonies. They'll help out for a week or so, and then they'll be too old and die. There we go. This is the stuff right here. Time for a boost. Wow. That is some thick honey right there. It's not cold either. The moisture content in this is so low. And it does say Hive honey, but I've actually already used the honey they gave me, and I put some of ours in here. Theirs was a lot lighter. Sorry that I'm eating on here, but honey does a wonderful job on my vocal cords, and it tastes pretty good. Anyone had any experience with Hopguard? I've tried 1 and 2, Hopguard 1 and 2, and I did not like either one. Hopguard 3 is out. It's supposed to be better. I'm thinking about trying it this year and using it during some splits. So there's like a little bit of a brood break and the Hopguard. Maybe the combination between the two is a effective way of using Hopguard 3. I've heard that it's still not great when there's a lot of brood in the colony. That's what I've heard about Hopguard 3. Can you tell me how old is too old to use sugar water? I've kept in my shed in glass quart jars. Well, it really just depends on how they're stored. If it's been really cold or they had something in to keep them from fermenting, honestly, if I smell it and it doesn't look fermented and it doesn't smell fermented, a lot of times I'll stick my finger in and take a little bit of it in my mouth. And if it tastes like sweet water, then I feed it to the bees. Really, I've done that several times and I haven't died yet. But as far as age goes, a lot of it's the temperature and all that kind of stuff. But if it's not moldy or anything like that, then it's probably fine to use. All right, John, you said not yet, maybe 2 weeks from now. Okay, well, maybe a little early to feed pollen patties. Maybe not. Some people do like to feed that early. May not be the end of the world. You're probably fine. Just keep me posted on what you do and let me know how it works out for you, please. Who was it that said everything works if you let it or something along that line? That was Michael Bush. Michael Bush has that on his tagline on BeeSource. Everything works if you let it. He must live in a totally different world than me. Because I've tried to let a lot of things work for me and it's just imploded. But, you know, I guess it depends on what context you're using that in, I suppose. Hey, Kamon, I was wondering what I should do for a hive that is showing a small amount of deformed wing and K-wing virus. Can I fix this? So viruses are difficult to fix. We really don't have any treatments that nuke viruses out of the colony. If there's a lot of brood in there, could you be having do you have a varroa problem that is injecting those bees with those viruses? And that's something you can do, is reduce varroa loads. And so maybe the varroa population is hitting a certain target group of your brood and causing that group to exhibit these behaviors. So maybe you can get ahead of this. As far as other things that you can do, if you don't have any feed coming in and it's warm enough, feed some sugar syrup. That can help clean them out a little bit too. Does it help with viruses? We don't really know, but usually a little food helps de-stress them. And if there's, find and see if there's a mite issue, and if so, treat. That's really all I can say. I was watching Bob Benny's video about expanding your apiary. I have 6 strong deeps that made it through winter. How would you approach growing in numbers sustainably? That's a good question, Kent, and congratulations on getting 6 good hives through the winter. So it depends on what you want and your budget is, but if one thing I can relate to is being over ambitious. I wouldn't go more than what you feel like you could handle. But then if you're like me, oh, I can handle, if I did 6, I can do 50, right? I wouldn't go that far. Triple would be as much. So go from 6 to 12 to 18. And you could split those into 18 colonies throughout the year for sure. But you're going to need to be able to keep up with all the needs of them. And I would never expand past my ability to be able to give my bees 100%, or you won't have 6 good colonies coming out of winter. You definitely, and you got a lot of investment into the equipment and all the things that are going to be required, more treatments, more feed, whatever it is to maintain those colonies. So you need to make sure that you're able to run them at 100% so you can recoup that investment. I don't think more than 18 would be a good idea. 18, maybe 20 at the max. But if you do a great job with that, and we're talking next year, and you did an awesome job with 20, well, then you can triple that and you're at 60 and so forth. So you can see how, and I think that's a good idea to be able to grow with your own bees. One of the biggest mistakes I made was buying a lot of bees early on and buying more than I could handle. And I just couldn't do it. And it cost me a lot of money, and my bees didn't get the care that they needed. But something like that, if you're really ambitious, you could probably split a little bit more than that. But honestly, don't take the fun out of it. Don't make it a bunch of, don't make it a pain. And there's nothing worse than realizing that you're overwhelmed and you can't do everything and you're behind by a week or two. And then it's just a matter of putting out fires and choosing which ones to put out because you can't get to all of them. It's a bad situation. I've been there too many times. Okay, so a lot of these are directed towards other people. Yep, smash that like button. That's right. Appreciate that, Mike. And someone else said that earlier. I appreciate that very much. That's one thing that subscribing and liking really does help us out, and it doesn't cost you anything, just a little bit of time. And I appreciate those who have. I'm just saying. So I have a, oh man, this thing bounced on me. So you have equipment for 30. I think 20 sounds smart. Okay. Yeah, I just think 20, that area sounds really good. And honestly, 20 really well managed hives will yield really well for you. And I think that's a good bit of bees. I know a guy that literally stays at that every year and runs them really strong and intensive and manages them well. And we're not known for big honey crops in Tennessee compared to some places. And he still averages 100 to 120 pounds per hive a year. So it's not all about having the numbers. It's really about having the right colonies in the right condition at the right time. First year trying queen rearing, what advice would you give? Just want to raise 4 or 5 for personal use. So a 5-frame nucleus colony can totally do this for you. You don't need to have any big fancy systems. Grafting queens would be best, in my opinion. It's just like anything, like riding a bike for the first time. You're not going to hop on there and just take off, but you're wanting a very reasonable amount of queens. So 4 or 5 is not that many. You could buy some JZ BZs. It's literally JZ BZ. You can get them in any major bee supply, probably your local bee supply too. And you just graft right into those. You can use the German grafting tool, Chinese grafting tool. They both work really good. And graft 20 your first time. And the main mistake people make when they're doing queens is not having enough bee density and enough nutrition. After that, I would say they have allowed larvae to get in there. When you're raising queens, you want them queenless, and you want them without the capability of being able to raise a queen. So you don't want them to have any larvae and no queen, because if they have even a little bit in a cell of larvae, they will devote their energy more towards that than towards your grafts. Now, I've got several videos on this, so if you'll go to the main YouTube page and watch the playlist, you'll get to see a lot about those 5-frame nukes. It's very easy. But if you have a 5-frame nuke that you're wanting to raise these in, then you want to have about 6 to 7 frames worth of young bees in that 5-frame nuke. You want it very compact. We're mimicking swarm-like conditions. Very important to raising high-quality queens. And when you're done with that nuke, just leave a queen cell behind. And now you have a nice strong split that once she starts laying good, you'll need to give more room. And then the other queen cells that you made, you can put in other splits that you need. But I think 4 or 5 is very easy to do with a 4 to 5 frame nuke. Just make sure the bees are strong. There's no way for them to raise other queens. And even if there's a honey flow going on, maybe give them a tiny bit of pollen patty. Make sure there's a frame of bee bread in there. Make sure there's resources and very thin syrup incoming, because all of those conditions really encourage the bees to go on out all out on queen rearing. And again, those are all the conditions that it takes for a colony to swarm and make those big, gorgeous swarm cells. Kamon, would you mind discussing autopsies of winter kill deadouts? Can we do a mite count? Thank you. Yes, I know beekeepers that have done mite counts on dead bees on the bottom board. And some people have been really shocked by how many mites they found down there in and on the bees. It's hard to know exactly what kills your bees sometimes, especially if you're in northern areas, and it could be some nosema, serranae, or something like that. I'm not super familiar with a lot of that stuff. We don't have hard winters here. I want to get a microscope. Well, I say I want to. Laurel wants to get a microscope, and I would like it too, and do some research and just look around and see what's going on in colonies that die or anything like that, and see if we do deal with some of these other problems like trachea mites and tracheal mites and nosema and different things like that. But yeah, you could take a handful of dead bees and do an alcohol wash and see how many mites are on there. And sometimes I've heard of my buddies doing that, and they're like, man, this colony was loaded down. I didn't even realize. And you learn a lot from those things. You really do. Morning came in from Oz, enjoying the live chat. Hey, Brad, thanks for coming on. How do you recommend feeding what? Oh, microscope. Yeah, Christmas will be here before you know it, Laurel. You'll do a video if I get a microscope for you? Well, this got interesting. All right. All right. We'll be talking about this. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. She's such a nerd. In a good way. And really, nerds are the best. They're passionate people. Okay, where was I? There was a question. Is it okay to be grafting in your area now? Yes, you can graft right now in Tennessee. I just typically don't, especially since we're running a little bit behind right now, about maybe a week or so behind where we usually are. So I'm not in any rush. There's always that early part of the season where it could work out or maybe it doesn't work out. And I'm just like, why put all that effort on a gamble when I could just wait another week and probably be right out of the woods and have a good, successful queen rearing experience? So just don't do it. All right. How do you recommend, that was it. How do you recommend to feed back honey from my dead hive? So you can extract that, or you could just keep it in the combs. If you get some, let's say you get a package or you catch a swarm or something like that, you literally, as long as there's no diseases in that colony, they didn't have any European foul brood or anything like that. There's been so many times where I've had some deadouts that had 30 pounds of honey, and over the course of hundreds of colonies, you end up with hundreds of pounds of honey / sugar syrup, because we feed with the fall flow too. And that, so I never take from the fall flow, and we just use that to plug into colonies. I remember last year in February, I didn't really have to do it this year. We fed a lot better, but it was February. It must have been like 40 degrees out, and we had all this honey that we had from deadouts, and we just went to colonies that were light and just started dropping frames in, and boom, right there, right? Just you pull, there's the cluster right there, pull one of the edge frames out, drop it in right where the bees are touching it, and 4 or 5 pounds of honey right there. That's perfect feed right there. So you don't have to extract that out, but if you do extract it out, then and you want to dilute it, probably dilute it half and half. But honey ferments really fast when it's diluted, so they need to do it and get it on and feed it right away, or it'll end up going bad on you. And if it goes bad and you feed it to the bees, it could actually upset their stomach. Okay, wow, that just jumped way down. I have a honey question. We harvested 15 gallons of honey last year. The moisture was 16%. We stored in 5-gallon buckets till we had time to bottle. The honey crystallized in less than a month. That's the way it goes sometime, Roger. I don't know where you stored your honey. For example, if it's if you have a basement or a cold room that gets down into the mid 50s, upper 50s, low 60s, that's perfect granulation temperatures. Also, some honeys just granulate or crystallize at a very fast rate. You would think in a place like Hawaii it was not this way, but every honey I eat over there, eucalyptus, it seems like the eucalyptus, the mac nut, the kiave, it's always crystallized or in the form of crystallizing when you get it. I'm not sure. I hardly saw any liquid honey on the Big Island when I went last time. Went to some farmers markets and everything was crystallized. Their type of honey just does that. And so you may have some types of honey that just readily crystallizes, but it should be fine. You'll just have to warm it back up, and if you're wanting to bottle it. So sorry about that, but I've had different batches from different years, and I can tell a big difference between some batches crystallizing in a couple months or starting to crystallize, and some of it. I have a jar of honey from 2018 that's been sitting on my shelf since then. Still hasn't crystallized, not even a crystal in it. We had a lot of basswood that year. The honey was extra light that year. Whatever that was, it did not naturally want to crystallize. It was it's good honey, but honestly, this stuff right here, this is the darkest honey I've ever produced in spring, and it's delicious. It kind of wants to crystallize a little bit, but it's good stuff. And we produced a lot of it, so congratulations on the honey crops. But yeah, crystallization is a little bit of a bother sometimes. Kamon, do you see a problem using paraffin wax to weld in starter strips? I don't know. Gus, you want to weigh on that a little bit? I don't really know. So other than the thing is, if you got some of it in, like if you're doing comb honey, then I wouldn't want to do that, because then you could get it in, maybe a little piece of it into the comb honey, which wouldn't be good. But if you're just using it for brood combs, and you had beeswax up here where they drew off of it, I know they won't want to fool with that as far as drawing comb off of it. I don't think it would be probably a great idea, but it may work. Beeswax would be better. There's no question. But as far as would it work, I really don't know. That's funny, Dave. Thanks, H-Hawk. Yeah, Michael Palmer, I'm really hoping that I can get Michael Palmer down here at some point, or go up and visit Michael. Michael's a wealth of knowledge and a fun guy to talk to. I've been chatting with him off and on, and I thought I had a pretty good sized garden. And man, some of the pictures Michael sent me of him and his wife's garden they've got a killer garden up there in Vermont. It's awesome. That guy's got a serious hobby garden, let me tell you. There it jumps again on me. All right, got someone from Jamaica here. Good deal. Hey, nerds are the best. My uncle said one time that you need to marry a nerd. That's what he told his daughters. You need to marry a nerd, because someone that passionate, if they're that passionate about you, they won't leave you. I don't know if that's the case, but nerdy people are very passionate people. So I've been called a bee nerd. Back when I used to drive a truck, they found out I did beekeeping, and they thought it was odd at first. But then I started making the YouTube channel. I was still driving full time when I started that. And we were kind of at a point. I went from driving over the road to driving 3 days a week for 13 and a half hours with a 3-hour commute between both ways. So 16 and a half hour days to 17 for 3 days a week. And I went to that job. We were working our way down into the business, and I started the YouTube channel in between, and they'd always pick on me about bee stuff. And the dispatcher, she actually was decent to work with for a dispatcher, which is shocking. And she always would call me, "Hey, bee nerd, what's up?" Oh, there's the bee nerd. And yep, she still follows my stuff to this day and buys honey whenever I'm out that direction. So there's nothing wrong with being called a nerd. Okay. Watch Greg Burns talk about Dawn Ultra producing more mite drop from a mite wash than IPA alcohol. Okay. An alcohol wash. I have not tried the Dawn Ultra versus the alcohol wash and compare them, Jason. I have not. But when I was talking to Randy on the phone the other day, I did talk to him about that, and he does prefer the Dawn dish liquid and says it works as good as or better. So that is an option. Is it too soon to reverse double deeps in upstate New York now? Probably, I'm thinking. I don't know, but we're just now around the main point of reversing down here. If you have a massive colony, then maybe so. But I would think that you want to be careful because you're going to get some cold weather still. And what you can do instead of reversing is, let's say that you have the top box and it's full of bees or very close to it. And there's a frame of, you got your brood in the center, and there's some bee bread frames, and there's some honey frames. Maybe take out a frame of honey and drop it down in the box below if you're concerned about it, space issues. And then you can put a empty drawn comb from below up above, or do a couple of those. Just, you don't want to spread the brood out. And you can do that instead until maybe you're going to get a long period of warm weather. But just, I don't know. I've never kept bees in New York. It does seem a little early to me to be rotating up there, but maybe someone knows more than I do about that. All right. Got the vaporizer guy on. Rob is on tonight. I'm looking to get into cut comb this year. Would you suggest ultra thin foundation or just use starter strips and let them pull everything? Also considering getting into Ross rounds. So that's interesting. I wanted to say a few things on that really quick. So as far as the Ross rounds go, I'm not saying everybody hates them, but what I have found is that I see them for sale a lot over the years. I don't know anybody who uses them and likes them and sticks with them long term. I'm sure there are a few people, but overall, they're expensive. I really kind of think the hog half comb method would be a better one to go if I'm going to go that route of producing sections. However, I don't think it's worth it, in my opinion. This is me as someone who's never produced comb honey, but Gus has produced comb honey. So Gus, we're going to put all the pressure on you, so don't screw it up. Type your opinion down below. But my thoughts are, why not just do this? I'll get to your thin foundation question in a second. And this is thin foundation right here. This is real thin stuff. There's no wires in it. And if I'm going to use a full sheet, it definitely needs to be thin. The thick stuff you can really taste and feel the texture, and it's just real waxy because it's really dense wax there in the center. So you want the thin foundation. But what I'm going to be doing with these is actually cutting them up into strips. And I'll be cutting them till they're about that far down, about an inch down, and the bees will go the rest of the way with it. And the thing with the sections is, yes, they are nice in either a basswood section or a Ross round section, but you have all that expense. And I look at it like this right here. This is a frame I can use every year. Foundation, especially when you just use starter strips, is very cost effective. Heck, if you wanted to, you could even make your own starter strips. You could just get a little bit of a mold, and there are things out there. I'm hoping to be able to get one from Swente from Denmark. They actually have machines that are wax presses, and they're silicone molds, and you pour a certain amount of wax in there and press them, and you pull it open, and then you have a sheet of foundation. You do your own. But you can do starter strips, and with this right here, you could literally cut it with a knife, and that does take some time. I understand that, but Pierce Beekeeping does have those cutters, and he's working on a 4x4 model So you could have a full one, and he's got the 2x4 model, and you just cut them out, and boom, you let them drain. And you got to run them through the freezer too to kill any wax moth eggs, or if there's any on there. But maybe try a little bit of both, but don't buy a bunch is what I would say, whichever method you go, because I see a lot of people sell those Ross round systems. I think they're just they're more expensive and more trouble than they're worth. So since we have Rob, the vaporizer fellow, this is a model I've been looking forward to. When Rob first got into making the Larabi vaporizer, which people have asked me about how it's pronounced correctly. And I've said it wrong for most of the time because this is the South and that's just what we do. So if we start pronouncing things correctly, people are going to get confused. But it is the Larabi. It's because Rob's mother, who helps him run the business, his name is Lori, and his name is Rob. So it's put together. That's how that name came about. However, when he created the first model, which works really good, it was not the system that I was using. So I mentioned that it would be really handy if there was a front door model, basically. And this is it. And it has a massive plug on the front of it right here. Not really a plug, that's the incorrect term. Nozzle right here, that would be better. It is really thick. I've actually taken it and tried to bend it down, and I cannot get it to bend. It's really tough right there. Let's see if that'll zoom in close enough. But yeah, it's angled down a little bit, and it's supposed to sit down there. That's just the way I like to treat. The other model worked just fine, but you have to drill a hole for it in the box. And I would just stick this right in the entrance so I don't have to drill any holes. So just a matter of preference, but I'm excited to use this model very soon and try it out. Thomas, yeah, well, see, when he said IPA, I was not thinking isopropyl alcohol, or however you say that first word. I'm not sure I've ever said that before. I've heard it said before. Yeah, he said IPA, and I'm thinking, what? I finally got it. How many frames of honey per deep for winter? And thank you for the donation again. Depending on the cluster size, if it's a good, strong colony like I want to see, I want to see if it's a double deep system, that top box mostly full. The bottom can be almost empty in my area, but if I can get 50 to 60 pounds, that's awesome. That would be great. That's about a deep box right there. Up on top, 50, 60 pounds of sugar syrup or honey, and that works really good. And there'll be a little bit below. You want to see that cluster stay down at the bottom, beginning of the winter, and work their way up into all that honey and food reserves. For something half that size, you could get away with less. And my friend Etienne Tardif up there in the Yukon has a lot of information, very technical information on overwintering bees on just 60 pounds of food with very insulated colonies. We're talking R40 on the lids. A wooden 3/4 inch lid is an R1. So that's like having 40 lids on top of your hive. But that's how he's able to get by with only burning 60 pounds. I believe that was the correct number, 60 pounds. And survivability for him is really good with that. And when you think about, R40, it's a lot, but it saves him a lot of feed. And also the main thing is the more feed they have to eat through winter. Let's say if you didn't have that insulation, they eat 100 pounds of it. The more they have to eat through, the more roughage there is. Honey, sugar syrup, everything has a ash content. And so the more they have to consume to keep warm and survive, the more roughage they build up. And of course, they don't get cleansing flights up there for months and months and months. So it makes a difference. But yeah, how many frames? 9 deep frames would be ideal for a strong colony going through winter. So James says hog half comb works awesome. Love mine. I would like to try one day. If I was to pick between the Ross round, just the naked eye test, I would totally go the hog half comb method myself. Just seems, I like the look of it a whole lot better. And then on top of that, it just seems like the bees would take to it faster. Sorry, Jason. I just couldn't help it. Cannot help it. Yeah, IPA. So that, and I've never had one, so I wouldn't even know much about that kind of thing. But as far as there's a there's an old saying I've heard for years of this guy who it's not a joke per se, but it's something that people will say. It's like, well, the only alcohol wash I do for my mites is if I see a mite, I take a shot and I keep taking one until I stop seeing mites. That's the alcohol wash. And I'm like, oh, funny. But that is one way to stop seeing mites. It might be crawling away from the bee yard, though. Hmm. Let's see. Retrofit. I don't know anything about retrofitting, or at least what that alludes to. Hi from Northern California. How long does it usually take for bees to draw out a comb? A new 10 frame medium box. Thanks for all the work you do. Well, if it's a good strong bit of bees, let's say you get a package of bees and the queen's laying good and you're feeding them, which is important. If they're even if there's a little bit of a honey flow, like a light one, they're still going to need some feed early on because they burn through a lot, and your feed will help them draw that comb out. So you can feed some really thin syrup, like 1-to-1. And if they are a strong 3-pound package with a good queen, I would expect them to draw that out within 3 to 4 weeks. Maybe, no, that's a medium we're talking about here. 3 weeks. Yeah. Maybe 4 weeks. I'm not super familiar with mediums, but they should draw it out very soon. It's not a lot of space for a 3-pound package to have to draw. By the time they start occupying the 8th frame, they need to be given another medium box, though. And you can pull up a frame that's partially drawn of the foundation into the next box and encourage them to move up and draw that one that's partially drawn out and then draw next to it. And that'll help keep them growing and drawing foundations for you. Oh, you are? Okay. So Laurel is going to drop the link for the Vaporizer. If you want to see the different models that they have, these are made in the US, and they also have good customer service, so you can get a hold of the people because they actually live here. And Rob knows that if he does a bad job, then I will give him a phone call or do a review on it, the bad job. I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, we all have to be held accountable, and it's important. The same thing has to be said of me, and I hope that you all do. And sometimes I have had some people hold me accountable. Isn't that right, Laurel? Yeah. So, Kamon, where do you see retail honey prices going? It's hard to know. I think it's going to go up for a little while, but then it may be, it just depends on what the country does, and things aren't looking super hot right now. I really don't want to really get into politics, but I will say politics usually stink, and this is no exception of what's going on right now. So if people are paying so much for fuel and doing this, and that, they may be less likely to spend as much on honey and some other things. But then again, like during the coronavirus, people bought honey more than I had ever seen. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. All right, so Laurel commented and dropped the link if you want to see those vaporizers and all that stuff. He will be at our conference again, and he had a ton of units, and you can see them in person. Also, he has some supplies if you're needing to just get these caps right here. You can get, he had a good deal on getting a discount on caps, and of course, had a discount on vaporizers there as well, and just you get to talk about the units and all kinds of different things. So really excited to this year's conference. I've got so many people coming and so many new people possibly coming. I'm very excited about some of the new products that will be there and some of the friends that we made last year that will be coming back. Oh, there it jumped on me again. All right, Texas Beekeeper. A lot of people hopping in here late. Hey, Alex, appreciate you coming in. Better late than never, and all that kind of stuff. I actually did announce this one a little bit early on a video, but wasn't much of a heads up. I need to do better about that and give people more of a heads up. I have no idea about the dumping restrictions on Ukraine or anything like that, Gus. I have no clue. Oh, Steve Chubb just sent $20 for Laurel, so I guess that's going towards a microscope or something like that. Laurel always has, I gotta say, I tease about Laurel going and spending all of the money, but first of all, she deserves it. and really, Laurel's really frugal. I'm very fortunate. She doesn't go and blow money. And when she does buy stuff for fun, it's always something neat and creative. But she's a neat and creative person. So it'll probably, what she likes to do with, when we have some money to spend on things, it's usually art stuff, or it will be science related stuff, or lizards or plants, stuff like that. All cool things. I appreciate it, Steve. She is pretty awesome. Ooh, it is hot in this room. Laurel's worked on the lighting for me, so you may have noticed that the videos, the lighting's a little bit better than it has in the past in some of the old live chats. But let me tell you, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 lights on me right now. And you can probably see every pore now. And man, it makes it so hot in this room. Yeah, Shake and Bake. You ought to see if you can come to the conference. It's going to be wild. It's insane. So I was talking. Well, I've been talking to a lot of people about it. There's going to be a lot of neat new products there. Like I said, I'm going to try. I'm talking with Swinty right now. They're in Denmark, so first of all, calling them, you have to get someone on the phone. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning. So I called their Canadian branch, their North American branch, and bless her heart, the lady speaks more French than she speaks English, and I had a very difficult time understanding her. She probably had a difficult time understanding me too. Probably not probably never heard a Tennessean talk before. I don't even know if Tennessean, Laurel wouldn't even classify me as sounding like a Tennessean though, not a true one. Regardless, I'm hoping that we can have a demo there, or better yet, get them to come there. But if nothing else, get a demo of a couple of their unique products, because they've got products that are like those foundation presses, and you can just pour in hot beeswax and just press it, and boom, you've got a sheet. I think that's so cool. I'm not giving up plastic foundation, but times may get hard and crazy. Plastic prices may go way up, and you just never know what's going to happen. Plus, for comb honey, it would always be neat to make your own comb honey strips. That would be pretty cool. Check this out, guys. And this is some of our honey right here. This is some of the stuff that when we were doing the Pierce hot knife video, that was all in that little uncapping tank behind me. This was the color of our honey this year. I've just never had honey this dark before in spring. It's got to be the Tulip poplar having a blockbuster year, and the sumac. That's the only thing I can figure. Privet was not a really much of a factor in the honey flow, which was interesting because we had good weather. It did get a little dry, but privet really went on all out last year. And some of these plants, what you realize, and I don't claim to understand it all, but one thing you realize with a lot of these plants is they'll have years where they really just go all out, and some years where they just don't flower near as much. Blackberry blossom, other types of plants. I think a lot of it has to do with the weather and just fertility and just all kinds of different things that impact the soil. But wow, never seen honey that dark in my history of beekeeping. It's delicious though. I've had a couple people raise their eyebrows, and what's really interesting about selling honey to folks is over time you're educating people when things like this happen. because I've had so many people come up to me like, hey, the new honey is good, Kamon, but you know, what's up with the collar? I'm like, there's nothing we can do about that. The bees can't even do anything about that. It's just whatever's out there, they go and get it, and whatever they get, however dark it is, that's what we get. And a lot of people are like, really? I didn't know honey is in different colors. I'm like, oh, you have no idea how many colors. There's a honey that Rick Sutton, one of our speakers at the conference this last year, and he says it has a green tint to it. And I cannot remember the name of it. I would be interested in seeing some of that. If you can get some like almost solid tulip poplar honey, it makes the best barbecue for wings and ribs, and best barbecue sauce honey, in my opinion. Was that European company you were talking to, Enel? How do they compare to Apame hives? I've never tried an Enel hive. I've looked at them. At first glance, I don't know what the price comparison, but if the price was even, I think I would like the Apame better. But again, I've never tried an Enel before, and I think they may be less money. Don't know. That wasn't the company I was talking to. I was talking to Swinty, which is in Denmark, and why did I say Enel? Is that in Greece or is that somewhere else? I don't really know. Be cool to have them as well, though. Now, we did have some Enel products at the conference. There was a couple of vendors, or a vendor that had some Enel hives there, but there wasn't a lot of it. And it's still a pretty unusual product to see here in the United States. Yeah, glass jars are high right now. Plastic jars are high right now. Whew. We're hoping to have a glass jar company and a plastic jar company that can bring a bulk load out, and we can all get a bunch and save at the conference. That's one of the plans for this year. Let me write that down real quick on my board. I'm really scatterbrained, and if I don't write things down in important places when I need to, I will not be able to remember it when it's important. So it definitely, yeah, Irish honey. No Irish honey. But the glass jars would be awesome. We're looking at several things: cheaper pollen patties, bulk pricing on pollen patties, bulk pricing on jars, bulk pricing on possibly syrup as well, and having all those available at the conference. Our goal is for people who drive to the conference to be able to save as much as they had in their ticket price or greater. So that is very possible. And we're going to have great education, great entertainment. You'll see tomorrow some of what we have to offer. And that's something I said at the early part of the video. For those of you who came on late, the conference videos will be available for purchase. We'll be releasing that tomorrow. And there's two prices. For the people who came, it's less, and the people who didn't come, it's more, but both very reasonable. And some people like, why are you charging? You know, by the time I think we get to the point where we break even, I think we'll have about $7,500 into this. Maybe more than that if you're counting the percentages that they take out per sale, and the website takes out like $50 per month and all kinds of different things to have these and stream these. So there's just a lot of expense, and we're hoping that we can break even. And if we can do that, we will keep producing them year after year. The video quality is very good. I was very pleased with the guys that worked for me on that DP videos out of Nashville. They do a lot of weddings and stuff. And the audio is very crystal clear and very well done. So the Bluegrass show, however, I'm going to have like a little bit of a promo track where you can see some of the stuff from the conference, and also the full Bluegrass show will be available on YouTube. So you guys will be able to watch the full show for nothing. Fillmore Containers from PA. Man, if there ever was a good name for a glass or bottling company, it would be Fillmore. Please tell me that was somebody's last name that just happened to go in the business. That's great. Yeah, Walker Bee Ranch, please tell Swarm Commander that I've been actually trying to get a hold of them. I haven't been able to get through to him personally, but I know they're busy and stuff like that. But I have been trying to get Saracell, Swarm Commander, and a few other products there. And any unique products, any product that you want to see at the conference, send them an email. Right now, Better Bee is, after last year, I told them, I said, hey, just come on down. We want you to be a part of it. And sure enough, they did. And all they brought is a few things to show off. They didn't really sell anything. However, after seeing how much product was sold, Better Bee's planning to come down and bring a good bit of product. So if there's, it's because people emailed them, they weren't picking up. I would send them emails. I would call them. They'd say, yeah, we'll get somebody, we'll get back to you. I wasn't getting traction, but what happened was so many people kept emailing them and I kept at it. I think it was probably on the fourth or fifth attempt that I finally was able to get a phone call from the owner of Better Bee. And now they're going to be bringing a lot of products. So the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you have any product or product ideas or any unique beekeeping things you want to see at the conference, start now. Email them, get them in contact with me. You might be able to save a lot of money on shipping or something like that on these products that you're wanting to get anyways. If you're going to be there, might as well. Shipping is high, higher than a Colorado hippie. Or is that low? I don't know how that goes. Yeah, I say these things and I don't even know what I'm talking about. So let's stick to bees. Oh, and there it just jumped around. Hey, Yasmin. Hope you're doing good. Been seeing some of the things that you have going on. Seems like you got a lot of hogs on the way. Hope they're all doing good and hope your bees are doing good as well. Hope you guys have had a good winter in Sweden. Oh, it's your husband's birthday. Well, thank you for the donation and tell him happy birthday and tell him that he needs to work on helping you build some more bee spots or plant more flowers for the bees. It's 3:14 a.m. Bless your heart. Let me know what you think of the bluegrass show. I'll send you a link to it, Yasmin, and let me know how it compares to some of the native traditional music that you guys have in your country. I'd be interested to see what you think of it. Okay, where are we at? Ah, okay. Well, that would explain why Walker Bee Ranch. Well, I hate to hear that. But I've actually got some of his product right here. Got some swarm traps up and rebait them from time to time. Well, maybe you're right, Josiah Westerkamp, about the Ross rounds maybe being a little bit better than hog half comb. I don't really know. Again, this is where speaking, that's why I tell people I've never done either one of these, and I don't speak from experience, but somebody ought to do some YouTube videos on these things so we can know what's what. Hey, Bohemia Bees, good to see you on. Hey, Harvey. Hi, Kamon. Does Paul Kelly from the University of Guelph do any interviews? His videos were very good. He's very hard to get a hold of, and he does not do a lot of those. And I think he's just really busy. From what he's told me, he's really busy with a lot of the research and being really active with the students there at the university. And that's his primary focus. And he's like, what I'm paid to do, which I can respect that. I mean, that is technically his job. And I feel like sometimes people in that position aren't very active with their job, but he strikes me as the guy that always is busy. But I do have his contact, and maybe he will do one with me, and he definitely will be coming to the conference unless something changes. He's said he's willing to fly down for that and give a couple lectures and be part of a roundtable. So I'm really excited to meet Paul Kelly in person and thank him for some of his awesome videos that they make up there at the University of Guelph. I know a lot of us have really enjoyed Paul's videos, and he just seems like the type of guy we like to have at the conference. Very friendly, knowledgeable, and for being someone who's does some research and all that stuff, just very humble, very approachable. I like him. Then I'll meet him in person, and then he's a complete butt. I'm sure that won't be the case. Sometimes it happens, though. Swarm Commander is crazy high. Can we try to bulk order that too? It's like double. Has it gone up double in price? I don't know. I got this from a supplier. It seemed like it was about the same price it was before, but I don't know. There's actually another company that's producing some swarm lure, but I don't know anything about that. But honestly, I don't know much about this either, other than what they claim, that it's supposed to be better than lemongrass and have more pheromone mimicking properties. But I don't know. I don't know. I'd be interested. Honestly, the best attractant for swarm traps is brood comb. Old comb, propolis, hive smells. Best thing ever. This stuff helps, but the real stuff will never be beat, in my opinion. Do I prefer Swarm Commander over lemongrass? Not really. The Swarm Commander may be better. The jury's still out. Back when I was really into it, before I got into beekeeping on a serious business side of things, I've said this before, a buddy of mine who was a county over, we had over 50 traps up, and we never used Swarm Commander. Part of the time, it wasn't around, so we used lemongrass, but we always used brood comb and propolis, and we also had some other really cool tricks that actually I'll be sharing in a video that may air Thursday or Sunday of next week. And it's a complete, I mean, some of the stuff that you've seen stuff on swarm traps, but this is some of the stuff that you wouldn't see in a swarm trap video. Some off-the-wall techniques to get bees lured into the hive. But we would get like 50 to 60% on average catch rate every year using lemongrass. So I know guys that don't have access to this Swarm Commander or lemongrass, and they use anise. So bees are attracted to a lot of smells. It's, you know, some ladies that wear perfume or some types of deodorants and things that have some smells like that will also lure bees in. So you could probably spritz some rose water in there and still get some effect as well. Bees are really good about finding locations. If you have a good swarm trap up and it has a brood comb and all of these things added to it at the right proportions, I mean, if there's bees in the area swarming, they're going to know it's there. The only way they're not going to that is if there's a really darn good cavity that is maybe like a tree cavity that already had a swarm in it. That would be hard to beat, because if it's in a tree and it's already got more fresh brood smell, brood comb smell, they may go to that instead. But a good swarm trap's hard for bees to resist. But yeah, Jennifer, maybe we can get some bulk pricing on lures. At the conference, we're all about trying to do our best to bring any savings that we can to people. Let's all be creative. You know, the only time that we say no is if it creates a ton of work for us, because we can't handle any more of that. But if, you know, sometimes we get people that say, hey, we'll do this. And so we're definitely open to any creativity to make the conference a better experience, whether it's saving, getting to learn new things, or just be fun. Okay, questions. Kamon, can you smell hatching brood from the entrance of the hive? I can't. I know I can't. I can smell foul brood from the entrance of the hive, but I've never been able to smell hatching brood. And I can smell nectar being ripened in the hive, certain types of nectar. Basswood has a really significant smell. Sweet clover has a smell to me. Black locust, I can smell that a little bit if I'm close to the hive. Like some of those, like the sweet clover and the basswood, I can smell those feet like 10, 15 feet away from the hive. And goldenrod can be smelled several feet away from the hive. Oh, well, thanks, Don. Maybe I'll send me that link sometime. Who knows? In search of lemongrass oil, 32 ounces, please. Whew, that is a lot of lemongrass oil. You planning on making some lip balms or soaps or something out of that? That's It's a lot of lemongrass. I do love the smell of lemongrass. It's a wonderful essential oil. Yeah, that's right, Silver Gorilla. Brood comb in the trap is essential. The older and nastier, the better, in my opinion. And I'll show you guys in that video how many times I spray this and how often I come back, and some of the issues you actually can have with too much of these things. So I mean, it's some of it's basic, but I do have a handful of tips and tricks that a couple guys smarter than me have shared. Oh gosh darn it, this thing keeps jumping around on me. I get a question, I'm just about ready to read it off, and then it just jumps down. Just bought several colonies home from Chris Warner. Great guy. Looking forward to hearing him speak next year. Chris seems like an awesome guy. Talking to him on the phone. Of course, Bob Benny likes him. And, if Bob likes somebody, they got to be pretty good. Chris just seems like a great guy to learn from. Really humble, very knowledgeable. And he does some really unorthodox techniques that I would just love to hear and pick his brain in person. So totally looking forward to that. If nobody else comes to the conference, I'll sit there and listen to Chris and Bob speak, but it will be fun. Oh, thanks, Jennifer. It was good to see you at the Tennessee Bee Conference as well. Appreciate that very much. Our last conference was good, but we really never put on a conference. Well, the first conference we put on had 225 people, and this last one was almost 900. And if you count all the help, people helping out and stuff like that, it was. So that was a big jump. And logistically, there's a lot of things to figure out. And also, going from 3 vendors to 36, and not just going from, like, one of our biggest vendors sold more product than all of our vendors that did at the previous event combined, and then like another 30%. So we grew at a very rapid rate, and I expect that to continue. And so we've been working on the conference since January, this next coming year, and we're planning on the honey show just be mind-blowingly better as far as presentation better. We plan on all the judging being done by Friday night, and that way all day Saturday we'll have the winners able to show off their honey. They can bring their labels, put them on the jars, and they can show their brand of honey, like Billy Bob's Best Bees or something, to have that on their label from North Carolina. And and that's great, and that can maybe bring some business their way. We want to take pictures. One thing we're debating, and we're going to have to figure out how much this is going to cost and how much more labor we're going to have as far as staff goes. But we're considering having Thursday night partially open the day before. There's not going to be any lectures. The vendors, I don't think, are going to be available to look at either, because a lot of them are driving so far on Thursday. They're going to be wore out. So what I'm thinking is what we're going to do is have 2.5 to maybe 3 hours. And I don't know if we actually will do it this year. But if we have 2.5 to 3 hours Thursday night, where folks that want to can come in, and it's just a meet and greet time. No classes. You want an autograph from Bob Benny or Paul Kelly or Ian Stepler or Randy McCaffrey. I don't know why you would want that, but you could get one. If you want to get some of the swag early on, like from some of the shirts from Randy or meet Frederick Dunn or any of those guys, and just talk and just meet people and get pictures. That's kind of what Thursday night's for, and that way we can get a lot of that out of the way beforehand. And we'll also start doing some check-ins. I'll have some people, if we do this, ready to go, so we can get the lanyards and get you checked in Thursday night. So Friday morning, you're right in the door, ready to hit the vendors and chat it up and have a good time. And we'll probably take honey Thursday night too. We'll take it Friday morning as well. But the folks that want to come in and just go ahead and get their honey checked in, that'll just speed up the process, because I expect a large amount of honey to come into the honey show with a lot more categories. And so we're going to make the displays a whole lot cooler. There'll be more honey. We're going to do our best to turn this into one of the greatest honey shows in the United States over the next couple of years. So we really, really appreciate everyone who entered this year. Rick, who has entered hundreds and hundreds of shows and judged just as many. said, you know, for our first honey show, they was surprised how many people entered, and I frankly was too. So thanks everyone for being that was a part of that, being a part of that. What's the best distance for the swarm trap to be off the ground? So if you talk to Tom Seeley, who did a lot of research on swarm traps, having them 15 to 20 feet off the ground is really better. However, for Kamon Reynolds, 15 to 20 feet off the ground is not happening. So I usually have mine about the bottom of it at my shoulder height. And that way I'm just able to take it and drop it. I have a couple that are a little higher than that, and I've had some a little lower than that, and they'll still go into it. How beekeepers discovered swarm traps is just having some equipment sitting around and seeing a swarm just go right into it. Bees love some pre-established comb, and they're attracted to that dry, dark cavity, especially if it's a good size, like a deep box. So I like to keep it convenient for myself and have it right there where I can grab it without having to get a step ladder or anything like that. It works just fine. I have volunteered Gus and Billy Joe to work the extra meet and greet time. Yeah, I know. It's very nice of you to volunteer those guys for your sake. You'll probably end up doing it, Chris. I got to keep you out of mischief. One of the vendors that we're likely to have is the bee apothecary. I think that I'm saying it right. And they do a lot of propolis and stuff like that. They'll be interesting to see. What are you doing for pre-flow mite treatments? Well, KR, I do my treatments in wintertime. And we hammer them in winter so hard that I really don't feel like a spring treatment is necessary. But I'm starting to look into that a little bit more. But I feel like as long as we pull the supers off in June for us, then we're fine. But this is where it can be a little different. Let's say you're in one of those locations where you don't pull your supers off till August. You have a shorter season. Maybe you do need to do some pre-flow treatments, but I'm not doing any pre-flow treatments. I will get the honey off as soon as possible and then hit them. Hey, Brian Reese, I just saw your comment on the wax dip boxes. Let me message you when this is over. And if you don't hear from me by tomorrow morning, well, after church, send me a message, but I'll get in touch with you and we'll work that one out. But yes, I do have some wax dip boxes. I'm just running behind on a lot of different things, and I apologize. I already made my hotel reservation. I'm ready. Whoa, you're ahead of the game there. I don't even have my hotels reserved. Maybe I need to. Next to you, her session was my absolute favorites at the Tennessee meeting. I must have missed something, Jennifer. What are we talking about here? I must have missed that. Hey, Matthew, from the UK. Thanks for saying you like the videos. And if you get a drone laying queen or a laying worker, would the actual drones be fertile or not? The drones actually will be fertile. There's just a lot of debate on the quality as far as if they're raised smaller. It's kind of like a smaller queen. She doesn't have as large of an abdomen, and therefore her spermatheca, which holds the sperm for her lifespan, is going to be smaller. So for a drone, they're going to be smaller. How much does this impact their ability to fly faster, which we know the faster drones are the ones that get to the queens? Could they theoretically mate with a queen? Yeah. Are they the best for queen mating? I don't know. Probably not, because if that was the case, then we'd be seeing a lot more colonies that go queenless on purpose, maybe just to get more drones to flood out there. I don't know. But yeah, theoretically, totally could happen. And but personally, I don't like it because it messes up my worker comb. And so I hate it when they start taking that worker comb and turn it into a bunch of drones and mess those cells up. Now, I have heard of guys saying, hey, what if we make a queenless colony and use nothing but drone comb in there? Would that be good for flooding the area with drones? And theoretically, yeah, that would work. But why not just leave a queen in there and let her lay that up? Now, I know if you already have a laying worker situation or something like that, then you're already kind of in that spot. But personally, I just try to get those laying workers shook out, and those bad queen layers, drone layer queens, and just get them out. If I want to raise drones, I'll just put a drone frame or two into a good healthy colony, and that seems to work fine with me. But that's just my opinion. But I've heard that a lot. I would like to see some more information on that. It's kind of one of those research projects that would be really fascinating to know, but maybe not super useful. Does Michael Bush do any talks now? I'm sure he probably does, Matthew. I haven't heard anything of him in a long time. Yeah, Ian. Hey, good to see you, man. Definitely going to need a large conference crew. We've just purchased some rechargeable walkie-talkies because the building's going to be so huge, and we'll have different folks that are running the speaker room, so I won't have to be running all around like a headless chicken like I was this year. I've got guys already hired to manage the PowerPoints. We learned a lot. That was the important thing of this year. This last year was a learning year, and there's just no way around it. We did the best we could. There's a lot of things we just had to experience. But now we have, and we are taking the appropriate actions to make sound quality more powerful, to make the areas quieter, to have better food, and hopefully free coffee. That's what I'm going for. I can't promise anything, but I think I've got a little leverage on my side right now. So we'll see how that goes. Free coffee and tea. That's what my goals are this year. Amazing honey show and better deals for beekeepers. Always better deals for beekeepers and better speakers. But the best I could do was Ian. But we'll have to suffer. But yeah, we'll have walkie-talkies so we can keep track of speakers and things and personnel a lot better. It's turning into quite a project. It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time. Hello from Hampton, Tennessee. Where's the conference going to be? The conference is in Sevierville, Tennessee. So right at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, you can see them from the conference. It is located in the Sevierville Convention Center. And it is going to be January 6th and 7th, the Friday and Saturday of the first weekend in January. And we will have guys like Ian, Paul Kelly, Chris Warner, Bob Benny. Kamon Reynolds may make an appearance if Laurel doesn't take him out between now and then. Randy McCaffrey, or the Dirt Rooster. Frederick Dunn. Mr. Ed, Jeff Horshoff will be there. Richard Noel is planning on being there. Of course, things can happen between now and then, but this is what will be happening up to this point so far. Got Landy Simone. I think she's just going to be a wonderful person to speak and meet. I'm really impressed, and more speakers than that. There's definitely going to be more speakers than that, but I've got a couple that are kind of on the fence. Not as far as who do I want to get now? What topics do I want covered? And right now, you can actually go to our website, which is very basic, but it's fixing to get an upgrade eventually. It will be by summer. hivelifeconference.com. And there's a survey on there. And even if you didn't go to the conference, if there's stuff that you want to see, products you want to buy, speakers you want to hear, topics, all that jazz, fill the survey out. Just be honest and let us know your opinion. And we go through those and listen to what people want, because, I mean, it's obviously what our job is. Deer stand height. Yep. I know guys have put swarm traps on deer stand height, but again, I just keep mine low. It's easier. So Jed says that he'll be signing autographs. Does anybody know who this Jed guy is? I've never heard of a guy named Jed. Sounds like something off like the Beverly Hillbillies or something like that. Now, talk about a fun show right there. I love that show. Good music, too. Part of the reason I like it is because those Earl Scruggs and Lester Flatt, if you're a bluegrass nut, you know who they are. That did, of course, they did a lot of stuff. They did a Petticoat Junction. They did that one. They did another one. They did a lot of stuff. They were really rocking it back in the day. How do you handle wasp yellow jackets? And because yellow jackets were all over the place on me last fall, Dave Lapp. So the best way to deal with them is to reduce your entrances, help protect the hive a little bit that way. But a lot of times the yellow jackets will meet them out in the air. So that only helps to a certain extent. really doesn't help strong colonies much because they'll defend the entrance really good anyways. Yellow jackets can't do much amongst all those bees, but where you can really help your bees out is yellow jacket traps. Trap those yellow jackets, keep the population down, get them before they get bad in the fall. So chip away at their populations early in the season, and better yet, if you can find the nest, tannerite. That stuff is fun. It is dangerous though, so keep some distance. But hey, it's actually good fertilizer for the soil. I actually know this for a fact. Not when it explodes, but once it actually degrades in the soil, it actually can be very nice. Dripping Cone Bee Company. How much are the tickets? Our deals for the clubs? We haven't announced this coming year's ticket price. We're hoping that inflation doesn't make us have to raise it at all. That's our goal. And if just a lot depends on catering and a few other options, but we're looking into a lot of different options there. So right now there's no deals for clubs or anything like that, but we will look into it. Last year's tickets were $180 for both days. Yeah, well, these guys are a lot of fun too. A lot of good laughs. The conference videos that we're fixing to release, as I was editing them, I forgot how many funny things Bob said and Kent Williams said, and a lot of guys. So there's a lot of laughter at the conference on the stage, but even more off of the stage. So like I said, those videos will be available and released soon. And this just in. What? Oh, really? Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So I was going to do a Muppet News Flash or something like that. Thanks, Jerry Johnson, so much for donating a large amount to Laurel's Microscope, which she will be getting. And we appreciate that very much. It's on PayPal, and that's why I'm saying it this way, because you can't see it on there. Oh, he commented. Well, thanks, Jerry, for coming on and doing that. That is very generous of you. And I imagine there will be some YouTube videos with the microscope in the future. Yeah, now you got to do the video, Laurel. I mean, you've promised, and we're all going to hold you accountable, aren't we, guys? Of course we are. Yeah, she's like shaking over there. I don't understand that level of shyness. I understand shyness is a thing, but I was born with zero amount of it. I have never met a stranger in my life. It's probably because I am a strange guy. You would disagree? No? Okay. Well, congratulations, Laurel. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Laurel says thank you, Jerry. Okay. Yeah, good coffee. Good coffee. Well, that's the trick, is getting good coffee, right? And you can take some good coffee and you can ruin it if you don't know anything about it. So I feel like there's a couple options we can go about the coffee, but we really want to make this as affordable and as enjoyable as possible. But the thing you realize when you get these big events, and they have one caterer, and that is it. And especially in our first year, they would not play ball with us. They wouldn't give us any bulk discounts or no wiggle room whatsoever. However, this year I have a way of showing them the numbers and hitting them in where it hurts the most, which is in their pocketbook. And I think that they may be interested to find that if they don't play ball, that it's going to cost them. So we'll see how that all works out. Free Tennessee sipping coffee. Okay. Black Rifle coffee. I've had some Black Rifle coffee. My brother got me some. He's in the Air Force and sent me some for Christmas, I believe it was. And man, it was some good coffee. It also put a pep in my step. Man, I had some energy after that. Highly caffeinated. Sorry to hear that, Hooterville, honey. Bee truck is stuck out in the hayfield. Not cool. Well, Brian Reese, thank you. And Jennifer, thank you so much for saying that about the conference. But that's the point. We want $180, I think, is a good bit of money, but we also provide and do our best to provide not just $180 in value, but more than that. It's a lot. People take time away from their lives to come out and be a part of it. So we really want to make it a fun time and experience, get to meet some of the best people, learn more about bees, conference discounts, the whole 9 yards. We definitely want to be the cup overflowing type of people, which is how I was raised. And so we obviously have to make money, or we have to focus on other things to support family. But I think if everybody can win, then that would be the best way to go about it. Yeah, Ian, are you going to give up that pollen patty recipe? Everybody keeps asking you. I know you haven't heard that question enough, so come on, Ian. I'm just messing with you, man. Brian Reese, hey buddy, don't run the ticket price up too high. I'm retired. Oh, that's funny. Well, Don, you can always just exchange it for some Alabama gear. You know that, right? Alabama memorabilia is exchangeable for American currency. Honestly, might be worth more than the dollar right now. I don't know. Yeah, I am still going ETSBs. I shouldn't be probably. Oh, hey, Ian, I didn't see that comment up above. This thing keeps jumping around on me. After a while, it'll just like jump like 6 inches down. Hey, came into that gelatin work in your patty mix. Hey, I loved it. It was great, in my opinion. I didn't see any negative side effects at all. I mean, if you look at the ingredients of gelatin and what it actually has in it, now, would you want to feed it in the time of the year where your bees can't get cleansing flights? No, but I don't think you want to feed a pollen patty during that time anyway. So I thought it really gave it some better consistency and helped lock in the water content for sure. So I think you should experiment with it on a small batch. If you're considering that as maybe something to help your patties out, Ian, I don't know. You may already have it locked down. I wouldn't be surprised. But I didn't see any reason not to use it. And I thought that it helped those patties stay keep them from drying out a lot longer. And it's a very small amount. The main thing is making sure you allow it to flower, what they call flower beforehand. In the batches where I just threw it in there and didn't allow it to really soak up the water good, it didn't perform quite as good. But when I let it sit in the water just a little bit and then added it to it, you just let it sit for 5, 8, 10 minutes or something like that. Yeah, I thought it was an improvement. Bee people are the best people. Hey, that's a t-shirt right there. Oh, geez, let's stop all this Alabama talk. Oh, come on, Chris. You're an Ohio State fan. You can't say much. Talk about the most pampered school. Oh, the Ohio State. Oh, my. Just can't handle that. I love you, Chris. Just, I hate your football team. Is there an age that kids are free for the conference? There is not right now. But we are looking into other options, and we also have a scholarship program that